let's go to Ron DeSantis then, because it actually bears talking about.
Yeah.
This is one where I'm not sure it'll work. I personally don't think so. But if it was ever going to work, it is going to look something like this. DeSantis, unlike Pence, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, who's kicking in various directions, Vivek Ramaswamy, all these other people, is actually taking Trump on head on and casting himself as the only other legitimate challenger, which I think is true, and is rhetorically not really letting any of the Trump attacks go unanswered. It's no longer silly season, apparently. He has actually decided to come out and confront Trump, at the very least, on some of the attacks that have been levied against him. And, you know, I've been impressed by it, especially with the way he's been able to take it on in Iowa. Here's what he had to say on the ground, keep in mind, in front of Republican voters. Let's take a listen.
I do think, unfortunately, he's decided to move left on some of these issues. If you say Cuomo did a better job with COVID than Florida did, first of all, that's not what he used to say. This is like new. Like 6 months ago, he would have never said that, right? He used to say how great Florida was. Hell, his whole family moved to Florida under my governorship. Are you kidding me? It's also the case that, you know, we're proud of what we've been able to do in our state. We won the biggest election landslide that Florida Republicans have ever won. And did he ever say anything like, attaboy, good job? No, he attacked me 3 days before the midterm election. And then he started attacking after that. And so I'm just thinking to myself, you're a Florida resident. If I saw an election landslide where we swept every statewide office, super majorities in the legislature, elect 29 conservative school board members, as a Florida resident, I would be cheering for that. If you put the mission first, you would definitely be cheering for that.
What can you say, Krystal? He's right. He's obviously correct. A, you moved to Florida, your whole family became residents. And the second one is, I still believe that is the strongest attack against Trump, which is, I'm an actual winner. I won big. You are the one who cost us. He actually even said later on, he said we would have had 55 Senate seats if it wasn't for other nonsense that was going on. Also possibly correct, right? Given what the wins were and all that. Who knows with Roe versus Wade. Let's put that aside. The problem for DeSantis is, for the GOP base to overall coalesce around that message, they would also have to believe that Trump was a loser.
Right.
And they don't believe Trump was a loser.
That.
That's like, and I've said the Gordian knot before, I really think it is, because I watch that and I'm like, man, that is such a compelling general election case. But we're not in a general election.
Yeah.
We're in a primary. And he has got to make, he's got a project on his hand, which is always the hardest thing to do. You have to change the way that voters think. You almost never can do that in politics. You usually have to come and meet voters exactly where they are. He has to change their thoughts from Trump won and was unfairly stolen to Trump is a loser and I'm an actual winner. I personally just feel it's such a titanic task that it's not able to accomplish. But I think if it ever could be, it's going to look something like that. Nobody else has been willing to say something. Nobody else has been willing to take him on this way.
Well, he tried the other approach of staying quiet.
And it failed. Right.
And he saw his polls go like this.
Yeah.
So I think he looked at that state of affairs and said, all right, well, that strategy is not working, especially because everybody else in the race, or even theoretically going to get in the race, they were all taking shots at him, not at Trump. Mm-hmm. So after watching that all unfold and seeing that it wasn't a winning strategy for him, he's decided to go on the offense. And I think that makes a lot of, logical, rational sense. I saw this morning, Trump just put out this mashup, I think, over on True Social, of Ron DeSantis just kissing his butt to try to get his endorsement, going on Fox. This is the greatest Republican president that we've had, and going on and on. Oh, he's the art of the deal, and he knows how to negotiate, and the whole bit, because he was desperate to get Trump's approval and get his endorsement. I mean, that part is actually true, that Trump says about him. And, that sort of stuff, it's kind of more visceral than this, theoretical, ideological policy distinctions that he's making here. I'm going to be interested to see. I genuinely don't know. I'm going to be, humble about making any predictions here. I want to see, does DeSantis going on the offense, does it move the polls at all?
Yes.
It's really open. In my mind, it's really open whether it changes anything, whether it causes him to go up in the polls, or it actually could cause him to go down. Very easily, this could have a backlash. There's a reason why every other candidate has decided, I'm not even going to say anything about Daddy Trump, because they're fearful of that backlash. And we've seen many instances in the past where people, come at Trump, and it ends up being very much to their detriment. So I wouldn't be surprised by that outcome at all. I think he's got to do what he's doing right now. I think it is, he's got to take a shot. You can't just sit there and continue to take on water and take all the hits from Trump and not say anything in your defense and not try to push back. But, I continue to be skeptical that it's really going to work out for him.
That's why I admire it, because it's genuinely risky. Look, remember how many times we were talking during the 2020 primary with the Democrats, and we're like, Bernie Sanders refuses to hit, Joe Biden because he personally likes him, and even though he's like, oh, it's existential, but also he's my old friend Joe. It's like, listen, you very rarely see it. You very rarely see somebody who's a legitimate contender, number two, actually go after the number one because of their overall political popularity. It's actually, usually you see it from like the number 5 and the number 6 and all of that. And then there's because here's the reason why, which is that the number 2 preference for Trump voters is 100% going to be Ron DeSantis. And all the second choice data will back that up. Vice versa in terms of DeSantis. A lot of the people who like DeSantis, the big portion, not the I'm done with Trump, are I like Trump, but I'm willing to consider somebody else. Well, those people, they're going to have Trump as their number 2. They don't really like to see party infighting, the whole Reagan rule, thou shalt not attack or whatever, a fellow Republican. And DeSantis has decided correctly, I think, which is, look, kissing his ass all the way to the finish line, it's not going to work. Yeah. As you saw, by his sinking like a rock in all of these polls. The only way is to draw a contrast. High risk, because also he could flame out. He could lose, go down, and then never be seen as a credible alternative to Trump in the future. And Trump will not only win the primary, but then ridicule and make fun of him for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
So this is a very risky strategy.
Yeah.
So, which is, again, why I respect it. It might work.
That's a good point. A lot of the other people that are in the race, they'd like to be president now.
Right.
They'd like to be Trump. But they're also positioning themselves for like, maybe I'll get a cabinet position.
Secretary of Treasury.
Maybe, if Trump wins, then he can only serve one term. Maybe I'll be next in line. And if that's a strategy you're pursuing, the most intelligent thing to do is to, basically praise, I liked Trump's policies and he was a great leader. I just think it's time to move on, or say something generic like that. Like that's kind of the Tim Scott approach, for example. And DeSantis has put all his eggs in this basket, because very likely if you genuinely go on the offense against Trump and it doesn't work out for you, you may be dead within Republican politics in terms of ever running for president again, certainly in terms of getting any sort of like plum post ambassadorship or cabinet position or whatever in a future potential Trump administration. You could be crushing your entire political future.
Yeah, and he's only 44 years old. Like, he's not playing it safe. And personally, I like it.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.